start with our French friends with an empirical analysis, but currently they are not logged in. So both in this session we have both econometric research, and also we have management and organization researches related to labor markets. So we will continue with Associate Professor İksun Didem Ülbey from Çukurova University. She will present us examining person and organization fit, a meta-analysis study. Ma'am, I may give you 10 minutes plus 2 minutes for discussion, and also if our other participants have questions, you have a chance to you will have a chance to reply it. So that is your turn, ma'am. Thank you very much for attending us.
Okay, sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is İksun Didem Ülbey from Çukurova University. Can I share my presentation?
Of course, ma'am. Let me give access, give permission to your screen sharing. Okay. Now you may do that.
Okay, I'm not trying. I'm sorry, I'm not very used to Google presentation. I hope now, can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have two presentations today I want to share with you. First, I want to share my research regarding the relationship perfectionism, fatigue, workaholism, and depression. According to Freud, perfectionism is regarded a common symptom of obsessional neurosis, where there's a harsh superego, and this superego makes demands for superior achievement and also conduct. Moreover, Hamacek described perfectionism as being normal when an individual derives pleasure from striving excellence and accept these individual limitations, however, also neurotic, as also Freud suggested. And an individual here has also unrealistic expectations and never satisfied, never content with their performance. So as a result of these demands for superior achievement, unrealistic expectations, and never being satisfied with their performance, so the employee may be obsessed with his or her job and also their job performances, and as a result, this might lead to workaholism. So here, workaholism is defined as a compulsion to work incessantly, and it is also regarded in some researchers, in some studies, as an addiction, like alcoholism. And the workaholic feels driven or compelled to work not because of some external demands or pleasure from working, however, because of inner pressures that make this person distressed or guilty about not working. So this level of unending continuous distress and this pressure can cause the employee to become depressed, and as a result extreme fatigue because of this intense overwork. So in this context, the aim of this study is firstly to validate the structural model, and after that to test the research model in 2 different samples. So it's expected to contribute to the literature by examining these both direct and indirect relationship between perfectionism, workaholism, depression, and fatigue. As we can confer these, all these variables can have important consequences both for employees and a result, of course, for the organization. Let me begin with the research model. And you can see here the research model and the hypothesis in the study. We have, as I mentioned, the direct effects and indirect effects. Perfectionism has effects on workaholism, fatigue, and depression, and also workaholism has direct effects on fatigue and depression has a direct and positive effect on fatigue. And also we have indirect effects, which we can also say the mediating roles of these variables. Workaholism has a mediating role between perfectionism and fatigue, and also depression. We expect that depression has also a mediating role between this relationship. And lastly, we expect to have serial mediating roles of workaholism and depression together in the relationship between perfectionism and fatigue as well. So as I mentioned, we have two different samples. We used convenience and snowball sampling methods. First sample consisted of bank employees from Adana, and as total, we had 337. We have questionnaires from 337 employees. And our second sample consisted of private sector employees and from 427 people. So you can see here a short summary of the samples. First sample consisted of 162 females. Mean age was 40 years, and the mean job tenure was almost 15 years. And second sample consisted of 246 males. Mean age was almost 38 years, and mean job tenure is 12 years. And here you can see the instruments we used to have our data, our questionnaires. We have workaholism by Andreessen, Griffiths, Hetland, and Pallison, perfectionism by Burgess, Frost, and Di Bartolo, fatigue by Michelson, De Vries, and Van Heck, and lastly, depression scale by Kaplan and his colleagues. So firstly, we checked our reliability, and we utilized both Cronbach alpha and McDonald's omega coefficients to assess reliability of our scales. And as in the literature, we mostly know these values should be above 0.70. And as you can see in our study, each of these scales have very high reliability coefficients, both from Cronbach's alpha and McDonald's omega coefficients. As you can see, they are mostly above 0.90. Sorry, okay. And we conducted exploratory factor analysis. Firstly, as you can see, all these variables have their own factors. We have 4 factors, and in total, 69% variance is explained by these variables. And the factor loadings are mostly above 0.75, which and also significant, statistically significant. And after that, conducted confirmatory factor analysis using maximum likelihood method. And here again, standard as in factor analysis, our standardized regression coefficients, which are also here factor loadings, in fact, vary between 0.73 and 0.84. And we can see here, again, the model result, the fit indices, and also the reference values. As we can understand here, our CFA model fit results shows excellent model fits. We used chi-square, degrees of freedom, Tucker-Lewis index, incremental fit index, RMCA, SRMRI, and as you can see, it showed excellent model fits. I also assessed validity of this model utilizing or assessing convergent discriminants and nomological validities. First, for convergent validity to be present, we have several criteria. Firstly, the factor loadings should be above 0.50 and ideally 0.70. And as we seen in our confirmatory factor analysis, these loadings are between 0.73 and 0.84, which we can say it is established. Another criteria is our average variance extracted values should be above 0.50. And as you can see here, these AVE results are generally about 0.60. And another criteria is our composite reliability values should be above 0.70, and we can see again here in this table they are above 0.90. And as a result, we can say convergent validity is established. And regarding discriminant validity and nomological validity, for discriminant validity, our maximum shared variance should be lower than our AVE values. And as we can see here in this table, this is also established. Our AVE values are bigger than our MSV results. And another criteria is our correlation between our variables in the study, in the model, should be lower than the square root of our AVE results. You can see here in the diagonal these square roots of AVE, and as we can see here, they are bigger than our correlations. So we can say our discriminant validity is also established. And lastly, for nomological validity, the correlation between these variables should be meaningful regarding our theoretical expectations and also statistically significant. And as we can see here, all these correlation between our variables in the model are both meaningful and statistically significant. As a result, we can say generally our construct validity is established for the study. Sorry. So now our model testing. As you can see here, our model, and you can see here the fit indices, which means model results. And as in the CFA, our model, our research model, also shows excellent model fits regarding the model fit indices. And regarding the relationship, the effects and direct and indirect effects, you can see here the direct effects of perfectionism, workaholism, and depression on other variables. As you can see, they are all significant and as we expected from our hypothesis in the model. The effects of perfectionism on fatigue, workaholism, depression, also the effect of workaholism on depression, and lastly, the effects of depression on fatigue. And lastly, the indirect effects in the model are the mediating role of workaholism and the depression. As we can see here, they are all as we expected from our hypothesis, and it's significant. We can see also here from two different criteria, symmetric confidence intervals and bootstrap confidence intervals, these intervals shouldn't include 0. So we can say the relationship in question is significant. As you can see, they don't include any 0, and all these effects are statistically significant. Also, the serial mediating effects of workaholism and depression together in the relationship between perfectionism and fatigue is also significant. We have here total indirect effects and the total direct and indirect effects of all these variables in the relationship between perfectionism and fatigue is also 0.45 and also significant in this level. So we can see here a summary of our hypothesis test results. The direct effects and also the mediating roles of these variables are supported. So the aim of the study was to determine the direct and indirect relationship between perfectionism, workaholism, depression, and fatigue. So in this context, the results of the study showed that perfectionist employees are highly prone to workaholism, depression, and as well as fatigue. And similarly, these relationships also have been shown in various studies that perfectionist workers can face these effects. Also, employees who are workaholics may be depressed and experience fatigue as well. And also various different studies from different samples and different countries also support these findings in the study. Also, depressed employees highly experience fatigue, and also several studies support this finding as well. In addition to these direct effects, as we assessed in the study, the findings reveal that workaholism and depression have mediating roles in this relationship. However, no other studies were found in the literature regarding these mediating effects we discussed in the study. So as in any study, we have also several limitations for this study as well. We only could be utilized 2 samples, and the participants were bank employees and private sector employees, and this is a cross-sectional study, so it's also regarded as a limitation. For future studies, these studies may conduct and use multiple samples from various occupations, and especially the model and especially the mediating roles of workaholism and depression should be examined further, because there are no other studies were found regarding these effects. In addition to these suggestions, future research also should utilize longitudinal studies so that we can further and deeper understand these relationships in the model. Okay, thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
If there's questions, we may take it now, or you may write it on a chat site.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for your first presentation.
Thank you.
Actually, I thought this was the second one, but no problem. Actually, I have maybe you already know that in nowadays this kind of structural equation modeling researches are very popular
Yes.
nowadays.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and mostly the reviewer too criticize the discriminant validity in my some manuscript scripts.
Uh-huh.
They have some discriminant validity problems. Maybe you already know that, but HTMT value should be included. I'm sure you you did this research with Amos, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's possible, I think. Maybe HTMT value should be included when you completed your paper. And also the another problem is the mediation impact. According to it should be Zaho or Baron and Kenny's paper. Which one is true? I'm using in nowadays the Zaho. Probably you are using the Zaho's because
I utilize. Let me show that. I also have here in the note. I utilize Preacher and Hayes method.
Okay. Okay.
I use bootstrapping in order to assess these mediating roles. So there's also a paper that Baron and Kenny's method cannot be utilized anymore. It's we can say outdated. That's why I use Preacher and Hayes' method.
Yeah, I'm using actually as the host decision tree modeling, and but very nice study. Thank you for presenting this to us. Are there any contribution or questions for Professor İksun Didem Ülbey? If still it comes to your minds, please write it on a chat site. Ma'am, we may take a breath break for you, and we will continue with Ece Uğurlu, Pınar Doğanay, Gözde Yeşilaydın, and Afsun Ezel Esatoğlu, if that's okay. And right after that, you may continue with, you may present your second study.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So, Pınar Doğanay, I think, ma'am, you are with us. We can hear you loud and clear. They present us the relationship between emotional intelligence and problem solving skills of healthcare manager candidates. Yeah, ma'am. We can see your presentation. Please go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. At this session, I would like to present our study about the relationship between emotional intelligence and problem-solving skills of healthcare manager candidates. I prepared this study with my 3 colleagues. Here is the content. You can see the topics, and you can see the slide numbers near the topics. Soloway and Mayer were the first to use emotional intelligence. They defined it as individuals' ability to monitor their own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among emotions, and to use this information to guide thinking and action. Later, Goleman defined emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize and understand emotions and the skills to use this awareness to manage self and the relationship with others. According to Goleman, emotional intelligence consists of 5 components, including self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. There is 5 dimensions of the emotional intelligence and their explanations. I know we have limited time, so I only show the slide. Problem can be defined as any situation in daily life to be responded for adaptive and effective functioning. A situation can be defined as a problem for a person when he or she feels disturbed by it and when the problem hinders the person from achieving his or her goal. In such situations, if you can solve the problem, you can cope with the obstacles. Problem solving serves the function of enhancing the situation and reducing the emotional distress caused by it. Greater emotional intelligence is, the more effective problem solving is, as it enables people to see the problem from many different perspectives. Moreover, high levels of emotional intelligence are directly associated with better stress management, decision making, and resilience. Individuals may deal with their problems more easily if they can use their emotional intelligence and employ appropriate approaches to solve problems. And this is also true for healthcare managers, which work in a complex environment and have to make sudden decisions. In preparing the next generation of health managers, it's important to empower candidates with the skills of understanding emotions, and it's also essential to show them how to improve their skills of problem solving. And our materials and methods part. This study was conducted to determine the emotional intelligence levels and problem-solving skills of the healthcare management department students studying at a public university, and to examine the relationship between emotional intelligence level and problem-solving skills. The population of the research consists of Department of Healthcare Management students studying at a public university. The sample wasn't selected in the study. It was tried to reach the whole population, 217 students, which is the 68.67% of the population, who volunteered to participate in the study, formed the sample of the study, and were included in the evaluation. The questionnaire consists of 3 parts. The first part consists of the sociodemographic characteristics and descriptive information of the participants. In the second part, emotional intelligence scale, and in the last part, problem-solving inventory were included. Emotional intelligence scale was developed by Baron to evaluate the emotional intelligence level of the participants. The Turkish valid and reliable study of scale was conducted by Acar. The Turkish form of the scale consists of 87 items and 5 dimensions. These are interpersonal, stress management, adaptability, and general mood. It's a 5-point Likert type, ranging from 1 absolutely disagree to 5 absolutely agree. The emotional intelligence score average is used to the evaluation of the scale, and the high score is interpreted as a participant's emotional intelligence is high. The classification defined by John Blatt was used to interpret the mean scores of the scale. Accordingly, if the scale average is between 1 and 1.8, the emotional intelligence level is very low, and if the scale averages between 4.21 and 5, it is very high. Our other inventory, our other scale is problem-solving inventory, our other instrument. Problem-solving inventory was developed by Hapner and Peterson to determine the problem-solving skills of the participants. The Turkish validity and reliability study of the scale was conducted by Shine and Hapner. The scale consists of 35 items, but scoring is calculated over 32 items. The scale consists of 6 dimensions. These are impulsive style, reflective style, problem-solving, confident, avoidant, monitoring, and planfulness. It's 6-point Likert type. The total score that can be obtained from the scale varies between 32 and 192. The classification defined by Üstündağ and Beşoluk, sorry, there's a pop-up. The classification defined by Üstündağ and Beşoluk was used to interpret the scores of the scale. Accordingly, scores between 32 and 80 indicate high level of problem-solving skills, and scores between 81 and 192 indicate low level of problem-solving skills. Descriptive statistics were used to determine the descriptive characteristics, emotional intelligence levels, and problem-solving skills perceptions of the participants. Shaprovilk normality test and Curtis's skewness coefficient analysis were performed to test whether the data were normally distributed. Independent sample t-tests, ANOVA, Kruskal-Wallis H, and Mann-Whitney U tests were applied. Spearman correlation analysis was conducted to determine whether there is a relationship between the emotional intelligence levels of healthcare manager candidates and their perceptions of problem solving skills. Here are the results, and these Graphics are about our sociodemographic characteristics, results of sociodemographic characteristics. You can see the our graphics. I don't have spent too many time for this. Table 1 is about descriptive statistics and reliability results of the emotional intelligence scale. The mean value of the participants' emotional intelligence scale was calculated 3.66. The highest mean value was interpersonal skills, and the lowest mean value was found to belong to the dimensions of stress management. Accordingly, it can be said that while the emotional intelligence level related to the dimensions of stress management is at a medium level, the level of emotional intelligence is high in the other dimensions of the total of the scale. The Kronberg-Alpha value for the total scale is 0.94. These values, these Kronberg-Alpha values, show that the scale has high reliability. You can see the table 2 comparison of descriptive information by emotional intelligence scale. When the difference between the descriptive characteristics of the participants according to the emotional intelligence scale was examined, a statistically significant difference was found only the variables of gender and general health status. According to the emotional intelligence mean score of female students is higher than male. In the variable of general health status, there's a difference between those who answered that the general health status is not bad and the other groups. Since the average of students who evaluated their general health status as excellent was higher, the students in this group were more aware of their own emotions, had higher self-esteem and confidence, had strong interpersonal relationships, and have more developed empathy skills compared to the students who stated their general health status not bad. It's possible to say that there are happy individuals who can understand the problems correctly, produce appropriate solutions, cope better with stress without losing their control, are optimistic and enjoy their life more. Sorry. Evet. Table 3, the data in Table 3 regarding the classification of the participants' emotional intelligence levels show that 62.67% of the research sample consisting of future healthcare managers candidates have high emotional intelligence levels, and 9.68 have very high emotional intelligence levels. It was observed that only 0.92 of the participants had a lower level of emotional intelligence. Here is the table on table for problem solving scale and its sub-dimensions descriptive values. The participants' mean scores of problem solving inventory was calculated as 86.91. The highest mean value was impulsive style. The lowest mean value was found to belong to the monitoring dimensions. The Kronberg-Alpha value for the total scale total is 0.88. These values, these Kronberg-Alpha values, shows that the scale has high reliability. When the difference between the descriptive characteristics of the participants according to the problem-solving inventory was examined, a statistically significant difference was found only with the variables gender, place of residence, and social security status. According to this, the problem-solving scores of male students are higher than female students. There's a difference between those who spent their lives mostly in the village, town, and other groups, and those who who have social security insurance, and those who don't have social security. The data in table 6 regarding the classification of participants' problem-solving skill perceptions show that 63.1% of the research sample consisting of future healthcare manager candidates have low problem-solving skill level perception, and 36.9% are high problem-solving skill level perception. There was a negative, if we can look at the table 7, the relationship between the emotional intelligence scale and problem-solving inventory. There was a negative significant relationship between the emotional intelligence scores and problem-solving skill perception scores of the participants. It was seen that as the scores of the participants on the emotional intelligence increase, their scores on the problem-solving skills perceptions decreased. And this is our last table, the relationship between dimensions of emotional intelligence scale and dimensions of problems solving inventory. There is a statistically significant negative correlation between all dimensions of emotional intelligence scale and all dimensions of problem solving inventory. You can see the explanation of the numbers, these numbers, and these are the dimensions. In a study aiming to determine the level of education faculty students' emotional intelligence, results show that the mean value of the university students' emotional intelligence were above average. These results of the research conducted by Avşar and Kaşıkçı show that emotional intelligence level of the students were moderate, and emotional intelligence level of the senior nursing students were higher than the rest of the students. In a study conducted by Yüksel to determine nursing students' problem-solving skills and the related factors, it was found that nursing students' problem-solving skill level was found as moderate. It was also found that gender grade, graduate school, the place which they stay, and perception of parental behavior don't have effect on problem-solving skills. In a study conducted by NASLA aiming to investigate the relationship between nurses' emotional intelligence and their problem-solving skills, in the same study, it was found that emotional intelligence scores significantly differed based on marital status, duration of service, and satisfaction with the unit where the participants work, and problem-solving scores differed only in terms of age, while the scores didn't significantly differ in terms of other sociodemographic variables studied. A result of the correlation analysis in this study, NASLA study, between the scores for emotional intelligence and those for problem solving, a weak but statistically significant negative correlation was found between these two variables. In another research with the Department of Nursing students, you can see the scores. A statistically significant negative relationship was found between the total emotional intelligence score and the subdimensions and average score of problem. It was determined that the emotional intelligence average score of nursing students was slightly above the average, and that their problem-solving skill levels were intermediate. The study aiming to investigate the relationship between emotional intelligence and problem solving of students' prospective teachers. The results show that there is a negative relationship between some dimensions of problem solving and emotional intelligence. Subdimensions of problem solving is positively related to subdimensions of emotional intelligence. Dennis study. If we conclude our study, in preparing the next generation of health managers, it's important to empower candidates with the skills of understanding emotions. Since they will be working in a complex environment and will have to make sudden decisions, it's essential to show them how to improve their skills of problem solving. It's also important for the healthcare management departments to provide students courses or seminars to give them the opportunity to improve their problem solving skills. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. Actually, I will get questions or contributions, but I will give you an update because due to actually time difference, I mean, the United States are like 7 hours behind us. So Isabel Pastor, who is an economic researcher in St. Catherine University, request a postponement for ongoing sessions due to time difference, because in now United States the time is like 6:40. So she will present her study on the next or the after the next session. Just for announcement. So, are there any questions or contributions regarding to Pınar Doğan Aypazdinar's presentation?
You may present your second study. Sure, thank you. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
I think probably not. Thank you, ma'am, for your presentation again. So, Didem Hocam, we may continue with you again. Didem Hocam will present us the examining person and organization fit a meta-analysis study. Yes, ma'am. It's your turn again.
We can see your...
Okay. Just a moment. I couldn't see my presentation.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Let me try it again. Okay. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, now I cannot. Just a moment, please.
Of course.
Okay. Hello, everyone, again. My second study is a meta-analysis study regarding person-organization fit studies in Turkey. So, person-organization fit is maybe one of the most widely examined psychological concepts in our field, and especially has drawn considerable interest from researchers and also practitioners in recent years. We are also going to see that from our analysis that in recent years, the number of studies are increasing. So Christoph defined this concept as the compatibility between people and organizations that occurs when at least one entity provides with what the others needs, or they share similar fundamental characteristics, or both. So previous studies has showed that person-organization fit has a relationship with various outcomes important for both organizations and employees. Also, there are several meta-analyses regarding person-organization fits from international studies, and these showed that it is related with job satisfaction, organizational commitment, task and contextual performance, citizenship behaviors, turnover intentions, and also turnover behavior, absenteeism, and trust in manager. Also, empirical studies showed that person-organization fit affects both perceptions, attitudes, and also behaviors of employees. According to this, person-organization fit decreases unwanted outcomes like burnout, job stress, cynicism, silence, turnover intentions, and counterproductive work behaviors, whereas it increases the wanted results like engagement, job and life satisfaction, job performance, commitment, and citizenship behaviors. So even though significant consequences of person-organization fits, both individual level and organizational levels, are shown in international studies in several meta-analyses, as I mentioned, these effects and direction of study findings in Turkey have not been examined yet. So in this context, this study aims to identify the correlates of person-organization fit using research studies conducted in Turkey with Turkish samples utilizing psychometric meta-analysis method. So by revealing these effect sizes and direction of this correlation, this study will provide a base for future studies and hopefully a contribution to the Turkish literature. So let me begin, or let me continue with the methods. In order to find relevant studies, I conducted a literature search for the key term person-organization fit in several places, in DergiPark, Google Scholar academic search engine. I also searched for thesis, and for conference proceedings in National Management and Organization Congress and Organizational Behavior Congress. And as a result, these searches yielded 174 studies related person-organization fit in total. I have also considered various inclusion criteria for including or not including these 174 studies in the analysis. I only included empirical studies utilizing Turkish samples and also employee samples, studies reporting Pearson correlation coefficients or values that can enable us to calculate these Pearson correlation coefficients, and also lastly studies examining person-organization fit as a composite construct, without sub-dimensions. And according, utilizing to these all these criteria, as a result, 84 studies have been used to conduct the analysis in the study. So you can see here, as a result of the studies, as a result of the analysis, number of studies by publication type and publication year. As I mentioned at the beginning, the number of studies are increasing in recent years. We can see here that most of the studies are conducted in 2019 and 2020 by 22 studies and 16 studies. We can infer here that the interest in person-organization fit as a research study, as a research interest, is increasing. And most of the studies are published articles, and also 34 dissertation thesis both master's and PhD dissertations, and also 7 conference papers. I also calculated reliability estimates I used in the meta-analysis. We can see here the number of studies and number of individuals in the samples, and also the reliability estimates from the samples. As we can see, there are sufficient number of studies, in total, as I mentioned, 84 studies, and we can see from the table that reliability estimates are pretty high. They are generally above 80. And the procedure I utilized for the analysis, I used psychometric meta-analysis methods, which is developed by Hunter and Schmidt, and also use their software for the analysis, and also I used Microsoft Excel sheets. For each analysis, I calculated total number of studies, total sample size, observed standard deviation, and estimated standard deviation, and also true score correlations, confidence intervals, and credibility intervals, and also the variance. In meta-analysis, we decide if whether or not the correlation, the result is significant or not. We use 95% confidence intervals. If these intervals don't include 0, it means the relationship in question is statistically significant. In addition, we utilize 80% credibility intervals. If, again, this interval does not include 0, it means the relationship or the correlation can be generalized. So this is a little bit big table. I try to make it more comprehensible using some color. The red ones are really shows really high correlations. They are mostly above 0.50 or 0.60. As we can see, the relationship between person-organization fit and person-job fit, job satisfaction, turnover intention, and organizational commitment are pretty high. They are generally above 50 and 60. Also, normative commitments and identification and organizational justice perceptions, and with their also dimensions, resulted pretty high correlations. And also, trust in supervisor and perceived supervisor support also resulted with high correlation with person-organization fit. Also, leader-member exchange and burnout from burnout dimension, emotional exhaustion, and the personalization. And lastly, employee engagement also revealed high level of correlation, whereas continuous commitment, task performance, and again, another dimension from burnout, lack of personal accomplishment, and counterproductive work behaviors resulted low correlation. And the rest resulted in moderate level correlation. Citizenship behaviors, job performance in general, and contextual performance, psychological capital, and also ethical climate has moderate level correlations with person-organization fit. So according to the findings, as we see in the table, varied between minus 0.65 and 0.73. These are pretty high correlations. And in general, 95% confidence if intervals did not include any zero, which means that these relationships are statistically significant, except two variables, continuous commitment and lack of personal accomplishment. Their confidence interval include zero. Additionally, the generability of the results, as I mentioned, is assessed by 80% credibility intervals. Again, most of the results, the correlations don't include zero, so we can say we can generalize these results. Again, except two variables, again here, continuous commitment and lack of personal accomplishment. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, there are also various international meta-analysis, and the results of this study is consistent with the previous meta-analysis results. And also, empirical studies showed the similar results with the meta-analysis with this study's results. Again, we have several limitations. These studies we used in the analysis are the accessible ones. So inaccessible ones were not included in the analysis. Another limitation is the limitation of the method itself. We cannot see, or we cannot infer about the results of meta-analysis causality. Meta-analysis does not show that. Unfortunately, we try to understand especially the strength and the direction of the variables correlations. Another limitation is the absence of investigation of correlation between several relationship, person, organization fits, and other variables. The reason for that is the limited number of studies in the literature. Some variables, for example, job satisfaction, turnover intentions are, mostly examined variables. However, the others, like leadership variables or employee engagement or counterproductive work behaviors, are very limited. There are, let's say, only 2 studies. So that's why these numbers also in future should be addressed deeply, so we can understand these relationships better. So addressing this correlation between PO fit and organizational trust, for example, depression, psychological well-being, and forming these research designs in future studies using Turkish populations might make contribution from this perspective. Also, as I mentioned, we need more studies assessing the present variables with existing variables so that we can understand better these relationships in our Turkish literature. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Professor, for your presentation. Actually, I have no idea about the meta-analysis. This presentation enlightens me very much. I have some tips. I'm about to start to read some stuff about meta-analysis researches. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Because I don't have any technical information about the meta-analysis, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or contributions for Professor İksun Didem Ülbey? I think If you have a question, you may raise your hands throughout Google Meet, or you may write it on a chat site. Actually, we came to an end of our session. As I've said before, due to time difference, the participants from United States and France will join us for ongoing sessions. Probably it will take it after 4 p.m. They will be with us. If there is no questions, I will close this session, and we will continue at 2:15. Okay, 2:15 p.m. Thank you for all participants, presenters for their presentations. You may disconnect us right now, or you may still get connected with us. We will continue in 15 minutes, sirs and ma'ams. Thank you very much for joining us.